happy Monday and happy holidays. How are you all doing tonight? I think there's some delay of me seeing you. Hi everyone, long time no see. I feel like it's been kind of forever since I saw you guys. I don't even know how I spent all this time, but I'm very grateful. Finally, this channel has reached 1 million people, and YouTube has been sending me this email like, where can we send you this gold plate? So I'm truly excited. I don't know if the gold plate gonna have actual gold in it, but sincerely excited to receive it. Hi everyone, you guys are so sweet. Long time no see, and happy new year. Oh, thank you so much. I mean, without you guys, I could not ever reach this many people, and it's quite surreal to me. You know, the fact that this many people actually heard my story, and not only that, knowing about what's happening to nursing people, and it gives me so much hope, and I'm eternally like just grateful for everything that you have done for me and continue to doing for me. So thank you everyone. Thank you. So I just turned to this camera to say thank you for everything, and today I wanted to talk about my new book, and this has been the main reason why I've been much of the really great. I have not done any media for a while, and took some time off, and now I'm back here to talk about my new book. So if you have any questions for me all about North Korea, all about the book, feel free to ask anything that you want. You can never offend my feelings, so this is truly a safe space. Oh, thank you for ordering my new book, Jimmy. You're the best. Let's see. Tommy, quick question. Does North Korea celebrate similar to Chinese New Year? North Korea, in some ways, when I was there, when I lived there, we celebrated the January 1st a lot more than the Chinese New Year, because you guys know that Korea has a different age counting system. So basically, when you are born, you are 1 year old. Despite you are like 0 year old, but you're one. And on January 1st, everybody gain 1 more year on them. And therefore, you can be born on December 31st. That's one. And the next day is January 1st, you can earn 2 years old on you. Why? Despite you're being 2 days old. So therefore, January 1st is a big deal. Hi, Murphy Johnson is how I say your name. Thank you so much. Like you in Miami, will you be doing more tours? So what's your new book about? I've already pre-ordered the audiobook. Oh, thank you so much. I will be in Miami for... Do you guys follow Patrick Bet-David? So I will have an in-person interview with him, and I believe that he lives in Fort Lauderdale. So I do plan to go to South Florida. And what this book is about, if you have read my first book, it's a continuation of what I talked about. It's still strictly my personal life. However, this book is a bit more embedding my observation as a thinker and as an individual. My first book was purely being a witness of what I saw, what I did to survive, going through that oppression, what I did to even become free. But this book is more about what I learned. In some ways, I am in some sense kind of experiment case, right? Nobody has been, no people really has been this much isolated from the rest of the world. North Korea is kind of the only place that modernity hasn't touched. They don't even know the existence of the internet. They don't even know the words of animals' rights or human rights or individual liberty or freedom of speech. These concepts do not exist in North Korea because of dictators who are controlling our thoughts, our language, our movements, the way of being. Everything was controlled. And from that perspective, dropped in the middle of Manhattan, and finding my ways to understand freedom and what it means to be free and living in a free society. And in some sense, I came to America, and the year I came, that was the year when Trump was elected as a president. And I went to this Ivy League school. In some sense, I'm thankful, and in some sense, I'm not. I went to Columbia University to witness what the American elites was getting in their brain, and equally, almost like brainwashing like North Korea. And going through the pandemic, going through the BLM, the lootings, living in Chicago, living in New York City, seeing the crime, and seeing the lies that is portrayed in media. And as you have all known that there are more than 300,000 North Korean girls just in China right now. Their organs get extracted out of them. They are sold like cattle. And nobody in American mainstream wanted to talk about this. And when they were trying to make a movie about my story, in the movie script, they said that China was the promised land, that China protecting me, they gave me the dignity. And I asked the producer, like, this is a pure lie. And he said, that is the only way in today's climate we can make a movie about your story. Lying about America and lying about China. How are we that much different than North Korea? Of course, we have more inflation flow. We have still way more freedom than Northern people and way more rights than Northern people. But the path that we are choosing every single day, we are choosing to go that way, it frightens me. And I think that is why I named this book While Time Remains, that I don't think a lot of people understand that we do not have that much time left. And this is a sincere thing from my heart, that whenever I have these ideas, people tell me, oh, you're like brainwashed by conservatives. I'm like, are you kidding me? I've been living in the most liberal city than Manhattan, Chicago, going to the Ivy League school, the Columbia University, that hates everything that is about white men, and telling me if I think the outside the mainstream and political correctness, they tell me that I'm brainwashed, and therefore there's no value in listening to people like who have different ideas. So anyway, so that's a quick summary, and let's go for more questions. Paulietos, oh, thank you, Paul, you're so sick, glad you're well. When can we get signed copies? My advanced copies must arrive this week, but you can get the books by February 14th on Valentine's Day. I hope you get the copies for your loved ones. And it's just not my book. I mean, this is really, I am in some way, I wrote even this book for my own son to understand the meaning of freedom, the value of freedom, and the threat of what free society can face when the majority, in some sense, lose their mind. And I think it was a alarm for me and for my own son. And I hope that you can all read this book and understand why I fear, not like really scared, nothing can scare me after going through what I went through, but why I'm so worried for my son. Here, Murphy, after growing up in North Korea and actually slavery, did you have difficulty adjusting to freedom? Yes, I do. And I do sympathize why some people struggle with the freedom. It's insanely hard thing to think for yourself, especially if you're not used to it. And I still remember going to South Korea, people were asking me, what's my favorite color? And I was thinking, I don't know, I never thought about because being an individual never mattered in North Korea. The worst thing you could be was being individualistic. The party told me that my favorite color was red because it was a revolutionary color. And like that in America, I see so many people are not used to thinking for themselves. They just want to believe whatever their teachers or professors say, whatever like CNN, New York Times say. And as soon as you disagree with these elite authorities, somehow you are a bigot. And this is where my heart just breaks into pieces. Like, we don't do that. This is a country, America was founded on the idea of individual liberty. and we have a right to think for ourselves. And I think that's why it's very important for us to understand we need to think outside of what the mainstream tells us to do. Here, Robert, thank you so much. You came to Arizona last July for the End of Slavery tour. Will you be touring for this book? It was a pleasure meeting you and getting book signed. Thank you so much for coming. I would love to go on tour this year. I don't know, is it thankfully or not thankfully? Most of my interviews actually this year has been scheduled through Zoom, and I think the world has changed forever in some ways that I don't even know what to say. It's such a recent development. I remember the first book, I had to go bookstores to meet people, touch them, hug them, hold their hands, and talk about my book. And this time, apparently, most of the interviews are all through virtual, like Skype or Zoom interviews. So I would love to have opportunity to go meet people in person. That'd be great. I'm sorry, guys. Oh, thank you so much. Is that Brock Jensen? Thank you so much. I'm too slow at answering your questions. Thank you, guys. So, oh, greetings from Philippines. You are the best. I love the Philippines. So if you can describe Kim Jong-un in 3 words, what would they be? Natalie asked this amazing question. I've never thought about it. How would I describe Kim Jong-un? It's actually, I just did this video about how Kim Jong-un has been having a midlife crisis. He just turned 40 years old, American age, 39 years old. And apparently he's been drinking every night and crying in loneliness and the anxiety that he has, because he knows he's not a healthy man. At that young age, he went through many surgeries already, and he has even difficulty of walking. So what I think of Kim Jong-un is his own greed eventually gonna kill him. I think he's a threat himself, really. That's what it is. I think a lot of people don't understand that. I think Kim Jong-un really doesn't understand. He doesn't only need to free the country for the people's sake, but only his sake. Like, how can you be leading a nation? Everybody is your threat, including his own children, including his own sister, including his own wife. Anybody can kill him and wants to kill him and be the next king. So that paranoia, I cannot imagine. So, Callan, do you support Donald Trump? Oh my gosh, that's a definitely gotcha question, but my thoughts are always evolving, and I completely being honest, I still don't know I do have mixed feelings about it. I think I'm sure you're gonna read in the book that I was talking about, coming to America, studying at Columbia in 2016 in January, and living in New York City, and everybody was telling me how American democracy was ending and how he's the biggest threat to humanity. But then suddenly it dawned on me one day, every Uber taxi driver said Trump is doing the right thing for American people. And everybody who's having this yacht, having private jet, who has no clue what it means to feel threatened, taking a subway every day in New York City. Like, whenever I take the subway in New York City, do you know, I every day know that I am risking my own life getting into this public transportation because I cannot afford the private security and I cannot afford a car to drive in New York City. And these people so out of touch of ordinary people's lives, telling us how we should think and how we should vote. And that was so bizarre to me. And if you have your own mind, you will see this biggest hypocrisy of these people hating Donald Trump. And of course, nobody's perfect, right? If we are perfect, we are gods. We are not. We are just human beings. And therefore, there's just no nuance when it comes to anybody in American politics or anybody. They can never see the gray, and I think that's very sad. Like, we are not North Koreans. We have education. We learn critical thinking. How do we become a society where everything is black and white? And that causes a lot of socialist revolutions. And in China, in Soviet Union, and in North Korea, in Cambodia. And I hope we don't go that direction. People lose that sense of critical thinking. So, okay. Torme, do you think that cancel culture, although still strong, is starting to lose its grip and starting to weaken as of now? Thank you. And AJ Film Guy, thank you so much. If the cancel culture is weakening, I don't know, because until 2021, I was closeted a classical liberal, guys. I couldn't talk to people why I believe in the Second Amendment, why I believe in like freedom or like US Constitution. I had to be completely not talking about it, and this was my part of media training by the Penguin Random House. When I wrote my first book, my editors hired a trainer to really teach me, not about how I talk about my book or my activism. It was really about not to talk about many different things that is sensitive in American public. And back then I was like, well, this reminds me of North Korea, like how my parents sitting me down don't even whisper because the birds and mice could hear me. Like, my mom told me the most dangerous thing that I had in my body was my tongue, because what I said could kill up to 3 generations of my family. And suddenly, this biggest publisher in the world, Penguin Random House, telling me, Yeonmi, do not talk about this, do not talk about this, do not talk about this. And back then, I was still like thinking that was a norm because that's what I did all my life. And during the pandemic and living in Chicago, during the looting, it's all in my book actually. My mom was with me, and entire night really living downtown. There were looters breaking into children's hospital. They set a fire on the prescription drugs so patients could not get their drugs. That's pure evil. And entire store, including Whole Foods, were padded up because they were afraid of looting, so we could not go buy the milk. And there was a checkpoint that they were threatening to blow up the Trump Tower that was near our neighbor, and somehow this is not a domestic terrorism. And the media, CNN, New York Times, saying, oh, looting is justified for these people because all their life has been stolen. And somehow their most of protests are like peaceful, and it wasn't. In Chicago, it was a bloodbath. The guns were shooting and looting and stealing and killing. Was most bizarre thing I've ever seen. And then, of course, after I talk about this, I was cancelled by a lot of corporations, including FBI. I was invited to give a speech about my experience and talk about the difficulties that North Korean people are facing when they escape to freedom. And I was very grateful that American government office is actually interested in understanding the oppressed people of North Korea and the injustice happening in the world. I was very excited to go, and then 2 days before my speech, I get the call from the head of diversity within FBI. I don't know why FBI needs head of diversity or what diversity they're even talking about. I'm a woman, I'm a person of color, and they just canceled my event and say my political ideas are too controversial and they cannot have me as a speaker, even though we are strictly agreed that only thing that I'm gonna talk about is the difficulty of North Korean people and their daily life. And this is pretty recent, and that's why I don't know if this is losing or not, but it's unbelievable that people get persecuted for their political ideas. So last, Nicholas, thank you so much. 2 questions. Do you think North Korea and South Korea will be able to exist again as one country? And who would you like to win the 2024 GOP presidential primary? You're such an inspiration, never stop being a voice for freedom. Thank you so much, you're so sweet. First idea about the reunification between two Koreas. I'm such a unique person because I had a blessing of living in North and the South, and I became an American, and I'm very honored for that. It's gonna be very tough, to be honest, for seeing the two Koreas become one someday, because during the last almost 80 years of division and living through a different political system, not only people's culture, the language evolved differently, but also they physically are different. North Koreans are on average 5 inches shorter than South Koreans because of malnutrition. And their language evolved to the point because in North Korea, they don't have free market. They don't understand what banking is. They don't understand what credit card is. And they don't even understand what coffee is because nobody can afford to drink coffee. Therefore, these two countries by now is a very different country. The difference between Americans and South Koreans are narrower than difference between North Koreans and South Koreans. So I think that's why I am less optimistic. The last question about presidential primary. This is a debate always I'm thinking, like, how much does the party have an influence over politics and our daily life, or how much a person or president can do. I believe in more party system, what the party represents, and therefore I am less strong about who gets elected. And of course I'm a huge fan of the scientist in Florida, what he has done during the pandemic, how much he tried to give freedom to the people of Florida. And I visited from Chicago to Florida during the pandemic. As you all know, like, we could not even eat inside the restaurant in freezing Chicago, and their dogs parks are open where dogs can go freely and run around, but the children's parks closed. My child, who was less than 2 years old, had to put this mask until here 8 hours a day in this prison of daycare. And like, we all knew that in outside in the sunlight, that's where we need to go to be healthy, to not die from COVID. But they locked down the children's playground, so children couldn't even play. And looking at that injustice, I of course became a huge fan of Florida and their policies. And if we could have governed the nation overall, how Florida dared to this pandemic, so many lives could have been saved and so many things could have been better. But we became these draconian measures that communist parties take, and that was measures that Chicago took. And yeah, I don't even know how they're gonna repay the damage they caused to so many people and so many children and so many families, for their mental health, for their physical health, for their financial well-being, and for the children, the socialization that children didn't get to learn. Like, so many children I knew in our building didn't go out for entire 2 years of their life because their parents are so brainwashed to think that if you go outside, you're somehow gonna die, drop dead from COVID. So they would not take their innocent newborns outside once to get the vitamin D from the sunlight. And at this point, like, who do we blame really, right? So let's see. So what kind of relationship is between Kim Jong-un and Xi Jinping? What do they think about each other? I do think that China uses North Korea as a buffer zone, right? There's a Japan, there is a South Korea right below it, and there's USA and Canada, and the free world exists right next door. And North Korea is a buffer zone to keep that freedom to come into their border. Not only North Korea is a buffer zone for them, but it's also a leverage against America, whenever America wants North Korea to stop nuclear test, missile test, or any kind of threat, they all know they have to go through China to talk about North Korea, and therefore China can always gain that leverage against America and the free world. And therefore North Korea is a very strategic partnership with North Korea. Mao Zedong's son died during the Korean War, and Mao once described the relationship between North Korea and China this way. I think this will help you to understand what it means. North Korea and China is like between the lips and the teeth. Without lips, you cannot survive. Without teeth, you cannot chew the food, you cannot survive. Therefore, they need each other to coexist. And that's why North Korea and especially China never gives up, never fail to support and sponsor this dictatorship that runs the similar Nazi concentration camps, that committing the crime against humanity. Despite that, China still sponsors Kim Jong-un to stay in power and running a country like an entire prison camp. So anyway guys, thank you so much for your support. I think we are gonna have 3 more questions today, and I will answer 3 more questions. Let's do more about the book. Will you be selling signed copies of your new book while time remains? Yes, I will try my best to do sign all the copies and send it to you. I will share the links as soon as it becomes available. And thank you so much, Scott, for your Scott Spencer. Thank you. And let's see. Has there been uprising in Pyongyang? Dan, thank you so much. Yes, there has been a trying of uprise, and I'm sure there's a lot of the uprise that we do not hear, because living in North Korea is living in like George Orwell's 1984. History is constantly rewritten by the regime, and therefore the only known instances are the ones that linked to the West. Within the country, they bury most of the instances, most of the uprisings. So as late as I heard that was happening in North Korea was somebody in the middle of night spread a lot of leaflets around North Korean capital to say that to death with the dictator and why the North Korean people are so oppressed. And for North Korean standard, like even thinking is a thought crime, and therefore somebody had the courage to spread that leaflet. That's a huge uprise that I'm sure like you guys don't think that's a big uprise, but for North Korean standard, that's a huge step. Trevor, when will be available in Australia, my new book? I'm not sure. The first book was very international, but this book was almost my tribute to my new home country. It was America, and I know that it's Western Europe, a lot of countries, a lot of first world countries having this issue. That every day I live in New York City, each week, guys, each week, they drop off illegal immigrants, 800 of them each week. And so much crime is rising, so much drug. It's every corner in Midtown, and when I walk on the street, there's drug lords selling drugs, and there's no rule of law. The police are afraid of these people, and seeing these countries crumbling in front of my eyes, I still don't remember seeing this many drug lords in Manhattan. Even when I came here in 2016, I don't remember seeing that. And the country, in my like short lifetime, from 2016 to 2023, it became unrecognizable. I don't know, can you recognize your own country? Like, you have lived here much, much, much longer than me. I do not even recognize this country since the day I arrived here. So this book is more about that destruction, but also I think a lot of the stories that I tell can be applicable to countries like France, England, and Germany, Australia, New Zealand, that deal with a bit of similar issues. Last one, so Ptolomeo, thank you. Do you like American entertainment or South Korean entertainment more? I have to be very honest. I'm sure you guys notice or not. Okay, I somehow have disability when it comes to watching TV. Like I can't really focus much longer, and whenever I watch TV, I somehow get very distracted, and I'm much more able to concentrate when I read. So I have no problem reading for like 10 hours a day, but if I try to watch something after 30 minutes, it gets very hard. So I do not watch a lot of entertainment, and I don't know, maybe it will help me to understand American pop culture better. So I try sometimes. I watch like if it's very famous thing that every American knows, I try to watch it. And I watched Matrix, the movie. It was amazing. But I don't watch any K-dramas or much of the TV series, to be honest. I just recently, just last night, finished the Prince Harry's book, Spare, and I was just mortified. The you know, like as a North Korean, like you can never think this is a problem, but I, as always I say, like it's amazing, like how not having a problem is an actual problem. The things that Harry complains in the book, every single page, is remarkable. Like how the tolerance for difficulty in life and tolerance, there's no resilience, and everything is somebody else's problem. And no wonder with that kind of attitude, these people willing to dismantle the system and destroy this country, because they really have no idea what the real world is like, what the world is like outside of America. And I think that's my goal with this book. Really, I hope I can wake up some people in this country. Like I'm sure none of us should go through the sex slavery. None of us should ever go live in North Korea and seeing the death of your family members from starvation and seeing the oppression. But without going through that, if we can learn what life could be without America, what life could be without freedom, and if we can wake up to the reality and save this country, that would be, that would be the blessing. I don't know what to ask for anymore. And then I know that I did my right thing for my own child. Because when I read George Orwell's Animal Farm, when I was closing the book, when I thought was that until the point of I was reading that book, I was blaming everything for the dictator. My father died, my grandmother died, my friends, I lost everything. I suffered because of the dictator. I thought every fault was laying on the hands of the dictators, but it wasn't. When I was reading the book, I realized there were people who were complying with this evil action. There were people in fear and fear of losing what they had. They kept it silent, and that's how my country became the Hermit Kingdom. And I think that's what I know now, what I can tell my son. When I knew something was going wrong, when I still had a chance to fight back, I did, for the sake of my children's freedom and their future. And I hope we all can do that. So thank you so much, Andrew, and everybody who has participated in this live Q&A today. I will do my best to answer more questions next time, but thank you so much for your support. I will leave the link on this comment section, so if you can pre-order the book and leave the lots of reviews, let's fight against, I don't even know, name it, but the people who are so clueless and willing to destroy this country in the name of good intentions. Anytime when people were willing to fight for paradise and perfection, we created a living hell. And that was a result of China and North Korea. And I hope we do not repeat the history. So love you guys so much, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of the week, and see you soon. Bye guys, everyone. Love you. Bye bye bye.